employees at the same company. Let's get started. Does Luke want to have lunch with Scott?
No, Luke doesn't want to have lunch with Scott.
No, that's not what he wants. Luke doesn't want to have lunch with Scott. What does Luke want?
Luke wants to meet with Scott.
Luke wants to meet with Scott. Does Luke want to borrow money from Scott?
No, Luke doesn't want to borrow money from Scott.
No, Luke doesn't want to borrow money from Scott. What does Luke want?
Luke wants to meet with Scott.
Luke wants to meet with Scott. Does Luke want to have a meeting with Scott?
Yes, Luke wants to have a meeting with Scott.
Yes, that's correct. Luke wants to meet with Scott, which is the same thing as saying that Luke wants to have a meeting with Scott. To meet with someone means to have a meeting with someone. Does Luke think the meeting will last all day?
No, Luke doesn't think the meeting will last all day.
No, Luke doesn't think the meeting will last all day. How long does he think the meeting will last?
He thinks the meeting will last for 3
He thinks
hours.
the meeting will last about 3 hours. Does he think the meeting will last more than 4 hours?
No, he doesn't think the meeting will about.
No, he doesn't think the meeting will last more than 4 hours. How long does he think the meeting will last?
He thinks the meeting will last about 3 hours.
He thinks the meeting will last about 3 hours. Does Scott have time for meetings this week?
No, Scott doesn't have time about this week.
No, Scott doesn't have time for meetings this week. He's very busy. Is Scott a little busy or very busy this week?
Scott is very busy this week.
Scott is very busy this week. Will the meeting between Luke and Scott take place this week?
No, they don't take a place this week.
No, the meeting between Luke and Scott will not take place this week. When will the meeting take place?
The meeting will take place next week.
The meeting will take place next week. Is it true that the meeting will take place next week instead of this week?
Yes, the meeting will take place next week instead
Yes,
of
it's true. The meeting will take place
this
next
week.
week instead of this week. Why will the meeting take place next week instead of this week?
The meeting will take place next week instead of this week because Scott is very busy this week.
Well, the meeting will take place next week instead of this week because Scott is very busy this week. Now, let's help Luke and Scott figure out the best day next week to set up their meeting. You're looking at the schedules for Luke and Scott for next week. I'm going to ask questions based on their schedules. Will Luke be in the office on Monday?
Yes, Luke will be in the office on Monday.
Yes, he will. Luke will be in the office on Monday. What about Scott? Will Scott be in the office on Monday?
No, Scott won't be in the office on Monday.
No, he won't. Scott won't be in the office on Monday. Who won't be in the office on Monday?
Scott. Scott won't be in the office on Monday.
It's Scott. Scott won't be in the office on Monday. Is it true that Scott will be absent from work on Monday?
Yes, Scott will be on vacation from work
Yes, that's
on
true.
Monday.
Scott will be absent from work on Monday. Can they set up their meeting on Monday?
No, they can set up a meeting on Monday.
No, they cannot set up their meeting on Monday. Why can't they set up their meeting on Monday?
They can set up a meeting on Monday because Scott won't be in the
Well,
office on Monday.
they can't set up their meeting on Monday because Scott won't be in the office. He'll be on vacation. Will Luke be on vacation next week?
No, Luke won't be on vacation
No,
on
Luke
next
won't
week.
be on vacation next week. Who will be on vacation next week?
Scott. Scott will be on vacation
Scott will be on
next week.
vacation next week. Will he be on vacation for 5 days?
No, he won't be vacation for 5 days.
No, he won't be on vacation for 5 days. This is going to be a short vacation. How many days will he be on vacation?
He will be on vacation for
He'll be on
3
vacation
days.
for 3 days. Will Scott be in the office on Monday?
No, Scott won't be in the office on Monday.
No, Scott won't be in the office on Monday. Does that mean they can't set up their meeting on Monday?
Yes, they can set up a meeting on Monday.
Yes, that's exactly right. That means they can't set up their meeting on Monday. What about Tuesday? Can they set up their meeting on Tuesday?
No, they can set up a meeting on Tuesday.
No, they still can't set up their meeting on Tuesday. Why can't they set up their meeting on Tuesday?
They can set up a meeting on Tuesday because Scott won't be in the
Well,
office on
they can't
Tuesday.
set up their meeting on Tuesday because Scott won't be in the office. Who will be absent from work on Tuesday?
Scott. Scott will be absent from work on Tuesday.
It's Scott. Scott will be absent from work on Tuesday. Will Scott be back on Wednesday?
No, he won't back
No, he won't. Scott won't be back on Wednesday.
on Wednesday.
When will Scott be back?
Scott will back on Thursday.
Scott will be back on Thursday. Will Scott be absent from work on Thursday?
No, Scott won't be absent from work on Thursday.
No, Scott won't be absent from work on Thursday. He'll be in the office. All right, so Scott will be back on Thursday. Does that mean they can set up their meeting on Thursday?
Unfortunately, no. They can set up a meeting on
Unfortunately,
Thursday.
no. They still can't set up their meeting on Thursday. Why can't they set up their meeting on Thursday?
They can set up a meeting on Thursday because Luke won't be in the office.
Well, they can't set up their meeting on Thursday because Luke won't be in the office. He has a doctor's appointment that day. Who has a doctor's appointment on Thursday?
Luke. Luke has a doctor's appointment
It's Luke.
on Thursday.
Luke has a doctor's appointment on Thursday. Does Scott have any doctor's appointments next week?
No, Scott doesn't have.
No, Scott doesn't have any doctor's appointments next week. Tell me again, why can't they set up their meeting on Thursday?
Because Luke has a doctor's appointment on Thursday.
They can't set up their meeting on Thursday because Luke has a doctor's appointment that day, so he won't be in the office. Will Luke be in the office on Friday?
Yes, Luke will be in the office on Friday.
Yes, he will. Luke will be in the office on Friday. What about Scott? Will Scott be in the office on Friday as well?
Yes, Scott will be in the office on Friday as well.
Yes, Scott will be in the office on Friday as well. Can they set up their meeting on Friday?
Yes, they can set up a meeting on Friday.
Yes, they can set up their meeting that day. Will both Luke and Scott be in the office on Friday?
Yes, they will be in the office on Friday.
Yes, they will. Both Luke and Scott will be in the office on Friday. Can they set up their meeting on Friday?
Yes, they can set up a meeting on Friday.
Yes, they can. Both Luke and Scott will be in the office on Friday, so they can set up their meeting that day. All right, that was the last question. Repeat